Okay. So I was just talking briefly. We've got Debbie today, Deborah Spaltmann, or Debbie as I call her, but I'll introduce her in a minute. And we're just saying so many things happening around us today. If we look at the Ukraine war, we look at COVID, what happened, AI, and all the jobs that they're sort of predicting that are going to disappear, and business is getting tougher, and maybe humans is going to be not needed anymore, and all these kind of thoughts are going around us. And Debbie said, we are coaches, so we should be a little bit more prepared with the tools that we have. Imagine those people who don't have any tools at all out there, and whether they're actually blocking everything or they're just being overwhelmed by all of this information, we don't know. So having some sort of guidelines on how to move for us, but also for us then to share with other people. So though these, let's say, common people, not coaches, don't come here, hopefully what we take away from here, we give to our clients, to friends, families, or whatever. And so today we've got Debbie Spaltmann. I'll introduce her, and then she'll introduce the topic. Okay, so this is Deborah Spaltmann. She's a leadership communications coach and mentor. She's based in Bavaria, Germany. She's a life and executive coach, and she's certified by the German Professional Coaching Organization, DFC. As of 2023, she's focused on training, coaching, and mentoring, specializing in the needs of service providers. Debbie's worked in the industries of IT, medical technology, telecoms, and non-profit NGOs. One of her favorite quotes is, "We are kept from our goals, not by our obstacles, but by a clear path to a lesser goal." Maybe she can express that a little bit better. So maybe explain that a bit better. Her favorite advice to her clients is, confidence is competence in context. So this is Deborah Spaltmann, and we're going to talk about the 10 commandments, how to navigate business and life. Seems it's always 10 commandments, but as Emily said, that we can't have any more than 10 because we wouldn't be able to manage all these commandments. So Deborah, you want to take it away and tell us what you're going to talk to us about.
Thanks, Gary. Thank you for the introduction. That was a really nice putting it all together from the really short stuff that I gave you. Actually, as a matter of fact, just recently, Paul here and I have started a joint venture working together on providing training, mentoring, and coaching to informal caregivers, and that's called Balance Works. And I've actually created a short little presentation because the thing is that, first off, I need a presentation to keep my mind focused, because I am someone who can go off on a tangent. I can talk for hours on things that have to do with coaching, things that have to do with building confidence, things that have to do with feeling well. And the other thing is that I want to provide value. And I was having an issue 2 weeks ago, and Paul will be able to sing a very sad song about this, because I was having an issue. I was very, very tired. I was overwhelmed. I was tired. I was totally out of my comfort zone. And I reacted, we were talking earlier about fight, flight, or freeze. And I had started up with the freeze, but then I went into fight. And and then I wanted flight. Okay. And the thing is that what helped me to get through this very, very difficult time for me, because I was going through all kinds of internal turmoil, and I'm thinking, Jesus, Deb, you're a coach. You should be doing this much, much better. You should be handling this way better. Is that I have, and I can show you guys here on my wall. Here's my wall. And on my wall, I have, you see it all written there? It's a closet wall. I have what I call my commandments. It's how I make decisions. It's how I focus. And it's right in front of me, and if we're thinking about the stuff that we are letting into our minds, we were talking about this as well earlier, Gary, the stuff you let in your mind is going to shape how you address it. That's why we say mindfulness is important. That's why we say meditation is important. I look at this stuff here, and I have these, and we'll go through this. I have this presentation that I want to share with you, but I look at this wall, and it says, for example, love what you do. why are you sitting here? You know, if you don't love what you're doing, do something else. You're not a tree, move, you know? And there are elements of that it reminded me that my former boss, CEO, he passed away. I was really sad to find out he passed away in December of this year, but he had what he called his 14 commandments. And it was a piece of paper like this. And he took he gave that to all of his direct reports. If someone was promoted, if he was, someone was put into his team or someone, whatever it was, he shared his so-called 14 commandments. And I actually had a presentation once where I had him read off I recorded it for him. I didn't tell him why, but I had a series of comic strips where he was he was actually moderating his own comic strip of his 14 commandments. And I used to have a problem with one of them. And the biggest one that I had the problem with, everything else was fine. It was okay, you know, but the one that I had a problem with was, hope is not a solution. Hope is not a solution. And I used to think, oh yeah, but we are humans. We need hope. You know, we thrive on hope. That's what keeps us running. And yes, that's true, but not if you're running a business. If you're running a business, you can't build a business on hope. You've got to build your business on tangible things. You've got to build it on finances. You've got to build it on, you can do projections. You can do research, all these things, but not hope. Don't hope that it's going to change. Don't hope that's something you're going to have to act. And so it took me a while before I understood that, but I understood the value of having his own 14 commandments. His value was 14 commandments. And my values or my commandments are actually questions that I have up on the wall. And I wanted to share with you guys how these questions, where I've pulled these questions from, I wanted to share that with you in a presentation. So if you're okay with that, you folks, that I share.
I think, Debbie, as well, if anyone has any questions or anything, you know, that you want to actually ask Debbie, let's keep it open. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you keep it to the end, then you've forgotten the question and we don't have enough time. So if Debbie doesn't mind interrupting you, if we do, someone else has a question, come up with it. Like, but one of my question was, as I was listening to you, Debbie, was, yeah, we want to make a profit and we have to survive and keep the bill, pay all the bills and so on. But we're getting to the point now is asking those questions like, so, okay, apart from making money, what else are we trying to, what are we trying to achieve? Yeah. What is the bigger picture than just making a profit? So as the questions that you were saying about the big big questions of business and life is, so what is why do we exist? What are we, why are we here? Okay, we're here to make money, of course you are, but then what's the bigger purpose? That I actually cover that in the talk, but I'll tell you what I have discovered and what my absolute favorite coaching instructor, philosopher, I don't know how you want to call him, is Marshall Goldsmith, how he says it's purpose and meaning. And when we see a purpose behind what we are doing and we find meaning in what we are doing, then we can actually overcome some of the stuff, the fight, flight, freeze stuff, the fear, the hope, if we lose that sense of purpose, then we're actually we don't have a North Star. We don't have something to navigate towards. And I think that for me is the answer to that question that you had, Carrie. Does it answer your question? Yeah. These are reflections that we're making when we get together. This contribution and connection is to reflect on all these words. Like, the meaning that we give is we give meanings to everything we do, because then we have to. That's the way that's the way we operate in the world. Giving meanings to even trivial things that other people just don't even consider. But for us, it's a big issue. Yeah, true. Absolutely true. So any more questions, or can I start sharing? Okay, I'll share my screen. Oh, you disabled screen sharing. Yeah. Like I said, I need a presentation to keep myself on track because I can go off on a tangent. You have no idea. I'm going to make you the host. Oh, you. Okay, share screen. So let's go.
All right. So here we go. And all right. So the 10 Commandments, this is the title you gave it, right? And it's about navigating the big questions in business and life. And I think for me, this is something that is just that we can create for ourselves to help us answer any questions we may have before it gets important, before we have to have an answer, before we know what we're going to say, we know how we are going to react to this. It's about our values, but Paul is familiar with this. I like to start off with a definition. So what is the definition of a commandment? And so, the old-fashioned one is the original commandments, they were crafted in a specific time. And Emelina was talking about that they had many, many more, but it was for specific people, and it was considered to be a moral compass. And actually, this has gone on for thousands of generations and multiple cultures and various religions and all of these peoples. And this has been a moral guideline. And when we think about commandments for ourselves, it's something that we want to create that is equally important for us. And it's our North Star. It's going to be something that helps us make decisions. I know I can't kill someone not because it's, ethically correct or something, because I learned that, because it's one of the commandments. Our culture has been brought up to believe that. And so having commandments for yourself helps us to make decisions and takes away a lot of these questions. I mean, we have free headspace to make free other thoughts. And if we think about creating our own personal commandments, it doesn't have to be 10. So it can be 5, it can be 7, it can be 25, however many you can remember. It's the thing is that you've articulated something that is going to be your own rules for how you want to live your life. And it's also not just about who you are, but it's also about who you're striving to be. Because through creating your commandments, it actually tells the world that I don't do stuff like this. I don't cheat on my partner. I don't embezzle money from my company, because I'm not that type of person. That's not who I am. And it's taking away ambiguity about, people know what to expect of you. They know who you are. They know what to expect of you. And it's about having moral guidelines is one thing, but it's about having your values exposed to the outside world. And there's a story here. I wanted to share with you a story. I was looking up for a story to say, who was someone who did this? Who's someone who did this? And that is value, that is important in, let's say, recent history. And that is Roy Disney. And on this picture here, you'll see that's Walt Disney on the left and Mickey Mouse in the middle. And that's Roy O. Disney. That's Roy E. Disney's father. And he was Roy Disney, the son of Roy O. Disney. He was an executive at the Walt Disney Company. And he was in management. He was responsible for the animation department. He did various creative projects and all of this stuff. And he was actually in a fight with the then CEO, Michael Eisner. He felt that Michael Eisner was too friendly with some executives. They weren't getting stuff done. They were had a difference of opinions in the direction of the management, where they were going. He felt he was mismanaging. He felt he wasn't paying attention to the Disney World, the parks, their park business. And he said that Disney was supposed to be a place where people enjoyed working, enjoyed having their fun, enjoyed doing what they were doing. And he felt that Eisner was making it into his words, rapacious, soulless company, like a corporate organization, and that he was refusing to establish a clear succession plan. He was letting politics play a lot. And that wasn't Roy Disney's perception of how this company that his father and his uncle had built should be. And he created his own website to tell people about what was going on. And at a shareholders meeting in March of 2004, it was a shareholders meeting, he convinced 43% of Disney shareholders and that they needed to have different leadership. And he persevered in his beliefs. He said, this is not the values of our company. This is not the values of Disney. This is not how we have worked. This is not how we do things here. And he actually won the fact that he won it over, that Eisner was released from the company. And so when he was put back in, he was installed back in, he actually got famous for staying and sticking to his guns, for sticking to what he was, what his values were. And he's actually considered, in the inside world at least, that to be as famous as his uncle Walt and his father Roy, and as being the person who actually saved Disney. I mean, these are all kind of inside stories, but there are a couple of videos and movies out there that talk about how the Disney value works. So this is just an example of how real struggles are going on. Gary, you have a question?
Just reflections of that. I talk about the 10 commandments. I mean, more or less, or the values of life, or the values of like working together in business. I think if I consider, look at where I am, my school and the people who work here, we more or less have the same values. My question is are we just sort of putting in the priorities of what we think is more important than another thing? Do we all have the same 10 commandments? And we just put it in different levels of importance.
Is that an attraction thing? Or are you choosing to have people around you that reflect your values? I mean, that's another one of those things, is that I actually bring it up later, is that, you are the sum of the 5 people that are surrounding you. You've heard that from Jim Rohn. And the talk about that is that when we attract people, we jive with people, we get rapport with people. And it's, in my humble opinion, it's because we have something in common. Our values are reflected in the other person. I don't think we have that kind of a connection to someone who is totally on a different plane. And I think that's when you're when you're working. I mean, in the case of Eisner, he wasn't the CEO. He wasn't the person who was hiring people. He was on the board of directors. He was a shareholder, but he wasn't the only person who could hire. And he wasn't the only person who could hire a CEO and such a high level leader. And he was overruled when that was hired. But because his values were so I'd call it penetrant and so important to him, he made a point of it. He actually created a website to support Walt Disney, the Walt Disney Company, instead of supporting the leadership, because he could have done that, or he stepped down from the board for a while, and he actually went back in because he was a member of the family, and because he had shares and was able to do that. I think it's fighting for your values. It's standing up for your values.
And so when people join your company and they share the same values as you, when they leave your company, what has happened? Your values are the same and their values are the same, yet they leave. And so what's happened there? Have you changed your values? Have the values priorities changed? The levels of values, have you given more importance to some and less to the others? What's happened there?
Well, let me ask you, do you think your values have changed?
No, but I see some people have left my business. We had the same values, or so I thought, and they've left the company. And so the question is, why have their values changed, or their priorities changed? What's happened?
Or maybe, what can also happen is that people change or priorities change. Their values may not have changed, but their priorities changed. But I have no idea, but I've seen examples of where people have been very, their value is being dependable. Okay, that's their values, being dependable, and they go to work. They're always there. They're always working, and then someone at home gets sick. So that's in contrast. How are they going to, unite this feeling of being dependable, this value? Is it work or is it family? Who are they going to be dependable for? So the value itself hasn't changed. It's just how they are expressing the value that has changed. So I think, there's a lot of room for interpretation, And I used to have, you guys might know him, Bernard Cates. We had a discussion once, many, many years ago, about core values, someone's core values. And I said, I hate that discussion. I hate it because it's polarizing. Because if you have a value that says, let's call it dependability, or you call it, I don't know, trust. That's a big value for me, being able to trust someone. That is polarizing, because all of a sudden, if you're not being trustworthy for yourself, you start being cranky. You don't even know why. You're not even sure, but you're not living out your values. And if trust is something that you want to have as a key value, a core value for yourself, and you want to be able to trust people, but you did something that wasn't, trustworthy or something, you did something that you don't really like, you are going to be cranky. You're going to be a person who's not nice to be around, because you don't even like yourself. And that's often the case when we don't like ourselves, is because we're not living according to the values that we consider to be important for our lives. That's when we start getting to be, that's why a lot of people, I think, that are out there and suffering, or better said, causing suffering for others, some politics, maybe, politicians, but I think that is because they don't even like themselves, because they're not living true to the values that, they were taught as children, or that were brought up to believe are important. Yeah. May I continue with the presentation?
Go.
Okay. So, hi, Jackie. So let's go on again here. So, going forward, and this is going to fit right into the line of what you were saying, Gary. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. I mean, and it's not going to be a straight line to being able to live according to your values. And it's not going to be a straight line to do what you say you want to do. And it's not going to be easy to get everything, your success down like you think it should be, your business like you think it should be, your family life, your relationship. None of that is going to be easy. None of it. And we actually touched on this earlier, Gary. You actually raised that question for me. And I wanted to share that. For me, the path to progress has definitely not been straight. Definitely not. And the thing is that it hasn't even been a clear-cut path. Okay. It's not only that it hasn't been straight, it's been foggy. And you haven't really actually known, I think, oh, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And something else comes up. Okay. And the thing is that I have coached executives, and they have gone through this themselves. And I actually coached a senior leader who was head of marketing, and he left the company to go build his own company, and he didn't get it. It didn't work for him. And he came back to a company to be another executive in that company again. And he was like, I belong in corporate. And then he was actually made a CEO. And he was like, this is back to being like, I had my own company. And he was really struggling back and forth with this identity of who he was and what he was doing. And the career that he took, I mean, it went off like a cannon. I mean, it went off like a rocket, but it was wonderful. But, the thing is that it's not often easy, and it's not clear cut, and the path is fuzzy, and it's going to go, maybe different than what you thought. The thing is that, which is a good thing, is that we don't have to know all of this stuff if we know our values, if we have our 10 commandments. We have our commandments, if we know what it is. And I like to use this example. I was thinking about what would be an example. You have your North Star, you have your compass, you have a guide, things like this. And I'm thinking, a tour guide. The tour guide is the best thing for me at the moment to do this, because your 10 commandments will act like a tour guide. It will give you guidance, it tells you, or you give you clear directions. This is how I said I'm going to act. This is how I'm going to act, right? So it helps you navigate through stuff, and it explains stuff that's going on. You say, I don't really understand what's going on here. Why did I act like that? And you think, oh, wait a minute. I have as clear thing in my mind that I get enough rest. I'm not getting enough rest. That's what I need to do. I need to make sure I get enough rest. So that's a landmark. That's something that you're saying, okay, if I don't get my rest, if I don't get a good diet, if I don't have a good relationship at home or something, that's going to make me be cranky, fight, flight, or freeze, whatever it is. And so your guides, your 10 commandments are going to help you with that. When you have a guide or your 10 commandments or your life commandments, you're actually ensuring that you know how to act. So you feel safe, you feel comfortable, you feel okay with your decisions. You're not going to be second guessing yourself. Helps you to navigate all those uncertainties that are going around. And you can actually use it to get a sense of direction of where you're going next, what's going to happen in the future. Because these are the series of questions I'm going to be asking myself, or this is what I'm going to be looking at, and this is how I can actually move forward. And that in turn leads to curiosity, because you say, if I do this according to my rules, according to my commandments, according to what I've set up for myself, how's it going to turn out? And if I didn't do it that way, what would be different? What's going to happen? So it actually fosters curiosity and exploring, different sides of things, a willingness to try something maybe, and having your own commandments, your own guide is that you're going to be supporting yourself with that. You don't need somebody to tell you you're okay, because you're okay. You're going to feel safe with all of this guidelines. You're going to say, this has worked for me, and this is going to work for me, and this is how I said I wanted to be, and this is where I'm going. This is what I want to be. This is a person that I'm striving to be. And another thing is about it facilitates connections. It's going back to what you were questioning earlier, Gary. You're going to meet up with people that you relate to, that you can have a rapport with, that you feel comfortable with. You're not going to spend your time. I know I wouldn't feel comfortable spending my time with someone who's I don't know. I wouldn't say I can help a drug addict, but I don't want them in my friendships, not as my friends. I can be comfortable. I had the situation, I was on vacation in April, and I had the situation that there was someone there who was very, very politically inclined towards nationalism. And we were having a conversation, a light conversation in vacation. We were sitting around and having a drink and talking about the future of where is AI going to go and how's it going to change society. And it wasn't a really big, difficult conversation. And he got rowdy and angry. And because of AI, 300,000 jobs are going to be lost. And if you were a politician, you would be making people lose their jobs. And I was like, whoa, hang on a minute, right? And that's the type of person who's so closed-minded, I don't want to have them around me. It's not someone I could get rapport with. I can be okay, but that doesn't help me to make friends. Anyway, so having a tour guide, your commandments, your own 10 commandments, your rules, whatever you want to call it, right? That's going to help you to make decisions. It's going to help you find your path, find your North Star. So that's the solution. Make your 10 commandments, And so in principle, we could stop right here, say goodbye. You guys go off and do your 10 commandments thingy and say, what do you want to be, right? But yeah, if it was that easy. If it was that easy. So I'm thinking, going back to asking myself questions, it's like, where's your starting point? So the first thing you want to do is you want to know where your starting point is. And that's when you can start making your 10 commandments. You can have a starting point for business. You can have a starting point for your relationships. The very, 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 very most important part about this is you need to get clarity on where you are right now before you can go and tear off in the next direction. Okay. So you need to know, where am I right now? And you need to be really, really honest with yourself. Like Gary, you were saying, losing, or let's say closing down your business or giving up your business or doing something that if someone does that, it's like, this is where I'm standing right now. This is my starting point. And what is the next step? How do I want to be in this next step? What am I striving for? Am I striving to be okay with giving up this business? Or am I striving to create a new business? Get full clarity on who you are right now at this particular point in time. And when you have that clarity, that's when you can start asking the next questions. And the next question is you want to build up on something. You want to build up on gratitude. So you want to build up on what it is you are actually grateful for. And I had, a really, really difficult situation 2 years ago. Within 4 days, my husband had a heart attack, or better said, I ran over my dog and had to be operated on. It existed. She's happy now. But I ran over my dog. 2 days later, my husband had a heart attack and had to go into the intensive care in the hospital and was operated on a couple of times. And this is, by the way, in the middle of COVID, right? So you're not allowed to go visit. You're not allowed to go in the hospital. There's nothing you can do. You're just kind of stuck there having no clue what the heck is going on. And 3 days later, we had to put our horse to sleep, and we had bred that horse. That was my little girl. She was 10 years old at the time, but she was my little baby. I decided she was going to be born. I picked out the father, the mother, that was, and we had to have her put to sleep because she was terribly ill. And it was a time where my dog likes to sleep in my room. She has her basket in the same bedroom. And I slept downstairs because she wasn't able to walk upstairs. And I put a little bed next to the guest room bed. And every single night I counted my blessings. That is how I managed this. I counted my blessings. I said, thank God the vet was there to take care of her. Thank God the hospital was open and they took him right away, and they didn't say, oh, we're full. Thank God they recognized that it was a heart attack. Thank God that they're taking care of him. Thank God I have people at the barn that are helping me for this. I'm so grateful for the friends that are standing by me and helping me at this time, and that I can call on and say, will you do something with this? I'm so grateful that I have the money to pay for a vet, a terribly expensive one. I'm so grateful for I ran down through all of these points. I am so grateful for, I am thankful for, thank you for this, thanks for that. And I tell you, I actually slept. I slept nights. I wasn't awake, I wasn't suffering. I was able to cope and handle what was going on. And if we transfer this knowledge, this thought into where are we business or in life or in relationships, what are you grateful for? I'm grateful for the experience that I learned about this. I'm grateful for, I'm actually totally grateful for the experience, because I actually learned how valuable gratitude is. And this is actually something that's called conscious awareness. It's part of mindfulness. It's conscious awareness. And it's actually a gift. It is a gift. If we can do this for ourselves, if we can.
So to be grateful, Debbie, is like, I'm just trying to sort of see how we can bring that in all our lives and what we do, and life and business. So it's finding also the time, I suppose, or the space to stop and be grateful, or not. I
don't know. Maybe that's the case for you, Gary. For me, it's just minute things. I'm grateful for Zoom. I sit here and I think, right, it worked. Hey, I'm happy. Hey, it worked. I got the Zoom number. Hey, Gary showed up. Hey, thank you, Gary, for, asking me. Or, thanks, hubby, for bringing me a coffee. It's just minute things. It's how we look at the world. It's actually taking this stance. It's taking this point of view that this is actually beautiful. This is lovely. This is nice. This is fun. It's having acknowledging what you are appreciating. I mean, really actually being mindful of this and acknowledging what you are appreciating. I think another thing that actually happens when you start doing this is that you attract more positive things in your life. Maybe because, the law of attraction or whatever you want to call it. I'm not into that all that much, but the more grateful you are, the more you see things you want to be grateful for, or that you can be grateful for. I see James is nodding his head. You've experienced this probably, right? You've noticed this. So, I mean, I used to drive 1.5 hours to get to work every single day, one way. So I was spending 3 hours in the car at least. And I used to complain. I mean, I was the biggest bitch and moaner about, I wish I had a Bigfoot tractor that I could run over all these cars that are in front of me. I could get really, really anxious. And then I discovered Audible books and I started listening to books. And it was like, oh, I'm at home already. I was just in the middle of whatever, this thing or that was going on. And it would be anything from self-help books to belletristic, detective novels and whatever it was, right? I didn't want it to stop. I would sit in the car and I'd still be listening because it was so great. And nothing has changed. I still had to spend 1.5 hours in the car. What changed was my way of looking at it and my way of coping with it. And that is something that was within my power to change. So I think that's something that it's a lesson we have to make. It's a lesson we have to discover for ourselves. So, but we're going back to the 10 commandments. And the first one was, where's my starting point? Second one is, what am I grateful for? And when we have that, we can start creating our 10 commandments, because we're getting now into action. This is the action part, is how will I get my life back on track if something goes wrong? And that part is, you're going to fall down. You're going to lose money. Something's going to go wrong. Something is always going to go wrong. Something may happen. But what are you going to do when you know this is going to happen? So as a coach, we call this embracing a resilient outlook on life. And it's like, I already know, if something comes up my way, like I was having my absolute off week, what is my way to get back in? I need to rest. I need to rest. I need to get my head straight. And I need to focus on my own 10 commandments. I need to focus on, what is it? What are my questions? What is that? And if I can do that, then I can say, okay, I'll have 1 day, 2 days max where I can freak out and be a total nerd or a total jerk or whatever it is. But after that, I'm going to get myself back on track. And so if you have this idea already, how am I going to handle it if something goes wrong? I'm going to allow myself to cry, kick, pout, whatever it is. What am I going to do after that? How long am I going to give myself time to cry, kick, and pout? How long? And after that, I'm going to take action. It's in my power. It's in my ability to take action. Gary, you're looking so thoughtful. What are you thinking?
No, just look. I'm just trying to think as well. What do I do when I want to get back on track? So I was just reflecting on that question there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're thrown and sometimes everything is just you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back home and I'm, I've got all these thoughts running around my head of trying to solve everything, because I'm a problem solver. I really am. And if I'm problem solving, I always think, well, maybe I'm just causing a lot of problems if I'm solving them all the time. So that was a reflection as well. So yeah, so how will I get my life back on track? How do I get everything back on an even keel? Is always on the back of my mind, because balance obviously is everything, life and work, and so I always try to find put things to one side that are not so urgent, and all that kind of thing. So deal with things as they come along, really, rather than.
True, absolutely, and. It's not all things work at all times. I mean, one of my questions was, and we'll get to that, was who gets to accompany me on my life is the next question. The one after that is, what was that? How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel? And that decides, I had a situation where I was working on a training for a large corporation. and my computer broke down. I just couldn't get it to work. And I had, I had some money on the side that I was going to use for vacation. And I thought, I'm going to have to buy a new PC, and it's going to have to be a good one because this one just broke down. That means that I might not be able to go on vacation. If the training works, then great. Then I'll make the money again and I'll be able to replace it. But how do I want to feel? I want to feel like I have this under control. I want to feel like I am doing what I have to do to get the work done. And so I took my savings from my vacation and bought an unexpected, very expensive new PC because I thought that's what I have to do. I want it. How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel? And so let's just continue here real quickly because I'm jumping ahead of myself here, and I'm aware of the time. So the other question is who gets to come to me on this journey? And it's about, the 5 people for one thing. It's about taking ownership of our relationships. It's about having peace of mind with the people that we're working together, that we're, spending time with. This is something that cannot be weighed against anything else. If you are wasting time with people that are not helpful for you, that are not, and you want to be the person as well. You want to be a person that helps other people to be the best version. You want to be the best version for yourself. You want to be the best version for them. You want them to show up as the best version for you. You can't expect that of someone else if you're not doing it yourself. And so who gets to come to me on my life journey is it's a huge topic. We could go on with this like for hours, but it's one of the things of, I have cut people from my life because it just didn't work for me anymore, or we've changed, or we've drifted apart, or we've lost track of one another. And it's nice. It's not like you're hating them, or it's not like that. It's just that our paths have moved on. And who's going to accompany you on this particular moment? Who's going to be there for life? Who's going to, what is it? Some people come in for a season. Some people come in for a reason. Some people come in for a season, and some people come in for life. And this is where you start becoming aware of this. This is another case of awareness. Let me ask you something. Are any ahas coming up for anybody here? If you got any feedback, any comments you want to share? I've been rambling on a bit here.
Jump in, anyone? Yeah, I mean, I think it's also the thing was just who gets to accompany me on my life journey is do the things that you do because you do them for yourself, not the expectations that we have from our actions. Mm-hmm. So is whether you choose those people and you do those things for yourself without expecting some sort of return, because sometimes that's a big issue as well. Because we go into these, we get people, we go into friendships or relationships expecting something, and we don't get that back, and that either disappoints us, disillusions us, hurts us, and so on. I think that's another aspect to look at as well. Lower the expectations, your expectations from situations for people.
I think it's just being open and fair. We're all human, right? We're all human. I don't know if I want to lower my expectations. It's just recognizing that we're all human. We all make mistakes, in decent English, shit happens, right? Nobody's perfect. So it's a case of being forgiving and grateful, being forgiving and grateful. If it's something that keeps coming up, I'm not going to lower my expectation for someone. I'm not going to, this is just me. I mean, you might be different, but I'm not going to lower my expectation of someone because they think they can be less than when they're with me. They're better than with someone else, but less than with me. That's like the situation. I don't know if you've seen it, like we get dressed up on Sundays because we're going to see grandma thing, right? We don't get dressed up for one another, or we don't get dressed up. That's changed. We want to show respect for the other people. I mean, I don't get dressed up for my husband all the time, but I do like to get dressed up when we go out for dinner so that he doesn't have to be, like, oh my God, this is my wife. I don't want to have anybody see her. Okay. All right. Anyway, I wanted to ask how you folks are doing, because this is the next question is how are you doing? Right. And because actually we are halfway through the year, and I wanted to ask if you guys, if you know your own 10 commandments, you can actually think about, where am I right now? Did I make, am I on a good path to reach my 10 commandments? Am I on a good path to do what I said I was going to do? Or are we holding ourselves back? And because this is something that we can actually do, is we can actually, if we have our own 10 commandments, if we have our own rules for life, our rules for business, we know what's going on. We know we're on track to do what we said we're going to do. We know, we can say, oh, I veered off course, because we had that already earlier. We can, stuff can happen and it can, get off course. But we know, because of our values, because of our 10 commandments, because of what we're doing, we can say, I am strengthening this. I'm strengthening that. I'm getting stronger in saying no, creating boundaries with people that I don't want to have around me. I'm getting stronger in making plans for my life. I like to have plans in my life. Whatever it is, this is the path to progress. You're going to be able to measure it against your 10 commandments, against your rules for yourself. And actually, I thought, but I'm looking at the time now. We're actually really moving along here. So the check yourself before you wreck yourself questions is, what do I want to go big on? These are my key questions. These are absolutely my personal key questions, and it's hanging here on the wall. What do I want to go big on? What's driving my motivation? Am I being the person I want to be right now? And what questions should I be asking? And so actually, I want to do a breakout, but I think we don't have time for that, Gary, right?
I don't think so. We've got like 10 minutes left. So
okay.
I think those questions could be just put out here, Debbie, and each one can maybe just
share. Maybe you guys want to share what's going on. But let me tell you what this means for me. What do I want to go big on means, what is it that is important for me, and where can I stop sweating the small stuff? What is it that's really important? What do I want to put a focus on? And what's driving motivation? And there are two things. The one is the identity I have of myself, or whatever that project is, or my aspiration. So do I identify myself as, I don't know, a coach, or am I aspiring to be a business leader? What is driving my motivation for each of these for this question, right? It comes back to, where am I starting out, right? What am I doing? Where's my starting point? So what's driving my motivation? And am I being the person I want to be right now? Well, shoot, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we know we're not. Sometimes we know we need to, check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? So am I being the person that I want to be right now is a question that you can ask if you're feeling off track, you're feeling off sync, you notice this thing in your body going up with, I'm getting, upset about something. And what question should I be asking right now can be of yourself or of someone else. You don't understand them. You're getting angry. You're feeling like they're attacking you. What is the question you should be asking right now? So that is actually what I thought we could do, in a breakout room, is to say, how would you interpret this? But we're okay. We'll get it done. We'll do another time. You guys can do this on your own, right? So that would be the way. And now I want to just ask, when we come back, we've shared our own, ideas about this, but I wanted to share something before, and this is the absolute finish as we're done, is these are questions from, I mentioned it, Marshall Goldsmith, and this is actually the only thing that really, really matters for all of us in life, business, relationships, in my personal humble opinion. And he says that we judge fulfillment in our life, and life includes business, relationships, ourselves, against 6 factors. And those 6 factors are the guideposts that we are striving for in life. And this comes back to the very first question you raised, Gary. And he says that we invest enormous resources of time and energy in trying to find purpose and meaning in our lives. We want to be recognized for our achievements. We want to maintain good relationships. We want to be a part of and feel engaged in whatever it is we are doing. And we want to be happy. That's what we want to be. And the thing about this is striving for it all is going to be unceasing. It's a fragile thing. It's fickle. It's fleeting. Will always include sacrifices, and it's always going to include trade-offs. And the thing about it is that any positive, long-lasting self-improvement is not going to happen because we don't even know what this new life really feels like because we haven't done it. And we don't even know if we're going to like what our new life is feel like because we've never done it. And the fun part about it is, and the best part about it is it's gradual. You know, it's like we were talking about your 10 commandments for the end of the year or your New Year's resolutions or something. This is going to be a gradual process. You're not going to flip, you know. Someone who says, I'm going to stop smoking on the 1st of January, right? How many millions of people say that every year? Meantime, it's happened. But they don't know what it feels like to be a non-smoker. They don't know what it feels like to go somewhere and not smoke. They don't know what it is, you know. And so it's going to be a gradual process of getting into that new me thing. And the other thing is that it's never going to be too early or too late to reflect on what the world and how you are shaping yourself, how you're shaping your life and the choices you are making. And based on these reflection of these questions, this is where we are always going to be tweaking, finding something else. So with that said, thank you so much. And
so thank you, Debbie. This could go on for hours. So we're gonna have to stop you here, Debbie. We'll have to have a part 2 and a part 3 of this presentation. So, you guys, listen. No one's spoken, so apart from Emmeline, does anyone have any sort of thoughts, reflections to the first? What was the first question, Debbie? I can't remember. We don't have. Where is the question? The first one is, what are you going big on?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where is your focus in this period? Does anyone have something that they focus? Paul?
I've been looking at my via Institute of Character strengths profile, and it's interesting. I came in late on the conversation with Emmeline and values, but so that triggered some questions for me in the whole process, and it was pretty much I'm looking at my values inform my as a framework for my commandments, the things that I want to live my life by. They inform each other. It's like I don't really like deciding on I don't like wasting my time on deciding which t-shirt to wear. So I buy 10 of the same, and then, or I probably have more of 10 of the same t-shirt because it's not where my values lie. I want to be doing something else. And always, when Debbie spoke about hope the other day, I was like, where does that ring a bell for me again? And I'm sitting here, of course, it's because it's number 2 on my values list. You know, just my number 1 is love. And I think it's funny with what Debbie and I are doing, and my personal sort of motivation for doing it is truly just based in love, in service, wanting to help the people we're serving, informal caregivers, because I find myself in that position at times. And I just want to be embodiment for them. And in the hope thing, it's funny how the hope works in terms of business, because it helps you hope that things will work out, but it can also trip you up. So it sort of, where's the lens, you know, how you're really looking at it. But so I've experienced with, you know, hope is number 2, expecting the best in the future and working to achieve it, believing that a good future is something that can be brought about. But we didn't think COVID would happen. We didn't think the war in Ukraine would happen. We didn't think so there's all these things that we can hope for, but life and chaos happens. So we have to rein it in sometimes. That's sort of where I'm at the moment with those things. I do hope still that things work out for the better, and I will, you know, turn up for that. But I may not necessarily hold the outcome in my hand. But you know, so does it balance? It's an interesting one, that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big topic there. I think the word hope. We could talk for more than an hour on that point there. I was just looking at where my attention and focus is going at the moment is towards decluttering, to taking on less, because I have this tendency to take on too much. very restless soul. So I'm attracted to any bright lights and anything that comes along, I'll take it on. And before I know what, I look at my timetable and I think, oh my God, I've taken on too much. And then I go into that phase of thinking, well, I'll just get through it. I'll struggle this week, but next week I won't do that again. So the focus at the moment for me is to declutter and not take on too much, and have those moments when there's nothing in my timetable, and not be afraid of that white sheet, like nothing there. Oh, there's nothing on today. Wow. At the moment I get scared when there's nothing on, so I fill it up. But
let me ask you, Gary.
There will be a moment when I look at a clean sheet like that, and I'll say, oh, wow. But at the moment, it's not the case. So there's work in progress there.
I want to ask you something, though, Gary, because well, how does that fit in with your rules to live by? I mean, if you can make that connection. You say you want to declutter, but actually, what I'm hearing, if I interpret this in a 10 Commandments type of thing, is that you want to have your mind at peace. That's what it is, because all of these shiny things was keeping you constantly going, restless. It was, taking away your focus. And if you've decluttered, you're able to focus on what is important.
Yeah,
am I interpreting that right?
Yeah, it's just moving the energy into whatever, into sort of smaller areas or fewer areas. Whereas before, it's like, even now, like my energy and focus is in so many different things, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And so sometimes just decluttering is the word, is like saying no. I mean, I find it very difficult sometimes to say no, because there's always a meaning, there's always a justification. I'm helping, I'll be, I don't know, going to a voluntary work, and someone will say, can you stay for a couple of hours, a couple of hours more? And I will say yes. I think we should be saying no, because but I'll say yes, and then I'll justify that, and I'll give it a meaning, say, but it is part of the service that you want to contribute and connect and so on. So, but it's that as well. So I think that's an important as well, as a takeaway.
Let me give you another question that you can use, and it's called, if I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? If I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? And that helps to declutter as well. Yeah.
Oh, you guys, no one's talking, so we're going to be coming to the end. Is anyone give me some takeaways here? James, give us your takeaway before you jump off.
Thank you so much, Gary. Yeah, I was just about to jump off, and but I cannot help but to thank Debbie for that phenomenal presentation. What really, as you present this amazing presentation, I was just talking my own mind and start thinking, and it's like you dig into my inner being this morning to think, wider in my horizon. That what are the things that I'm big on right now, and that is gratitude. Gratitude, like you said, the more grateful you are for the things for the list of things, the more you get to be attractive to the bigger purpose of your life. And speaking about hope, for me, I believe hope is a belief in action. And as Augustine Hippo says, that hope has two beautiful daughters. Their names are anger and courage. Anger at the way things are, and the courage to see that they do not remain as they are. So this year I have a team, and the team is tagged CASE, which is CASE. So C stands for courage and A stands for action. So I may have courage to pursue my life purpose, but if I do not put my courage and my value into action, my purpose might be left unrealized. So I think that is what I have to say, and thank you so much for this great presentation. Where I still have more to share, but I just have to jump off now. But thank you so much, everyone, and great to see everyone on the call.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Anyone else? Philip, what's your takeaway as we're coming to the end? Just a couple of words on what
No,
we've
I,
heard from
I like
Debbie?
the you are the sum of the 5 people around you. I think that's something that I've thought about a lot lately as well. I also like the last one. If I'm saying yes to this, then what am I saying no to? Is something that I heard something similar, like every yes is a no to yourself or something. I had a couple of questions. Maybe we can talk about it in the future. Maybe Debbie can come back. I was thinking about like how often we have to revise our commandments, and also maybe if we can have commandments that are isolated to specific parts of our lives. So can we have commandments that are only for business and commandments that are only personal? So something that maybe we can talk about in the future. I don't want to start big conversation now, maybe, but
A big debate as we're coming to the end, Philip. We should have given you some time. Maybe next time we'll give you some time to the questions. Okay, Jackie, what about your takeaway? What are you taking away
Well,
from this?
I kind of want to thank you, Debbie. First of all, I joined in halfway through the presentation, but yes, the point that stuck with me was saying yes to people means saying no to yourself, and I'm a yes person, so I always say yes, but then I should start putting myself as a priority more often. So that was the biggest takeaway I think I had.
Emily?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. It was awesome. Well, my attention was drawn to to be the best version of yourself for myself. Because sometimes in close relationships, the boundaries get a little bit vague, and you may lose yourself to someone else's best version expectations instead of your own. I mean, in close relationships. So she drew my attention back to it. And the other one I noticed was that I do not need to lower my expectations. That forgiveness of people is not the same thing as lowering expectations. And I tend to lower the expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. This is the last one before the summer break. I'm going to take a break for the month of August, and I'll be back in September. So thank you for helping. I think we're all connecting and contributing to this space here. And Debbie, especially to you for your presentation. We didn't have enough time, really. We could have had a couple of hours here, but we'll do it again some other time.
I warned you, Gary. I said I can talk for hours.
We should have a button or a little, like an electric shock. Every time we want you to stop, we just tap, it'll give you a little shock.
Oh, no.
Seriously, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your feedback.
Okay, so have a great day and share these BEwell stuff. If you see anything on the LinkedIn or whatever, share with your connections. So it'll help us to actually bring more people onto the series. Okay, so have a great day.
Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks. Gary, I made you host.
Okay, thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye, bye everyone. Debbie, how was that?
I'm fine. How was it for you?
Let me stop that.